Welcome, it's Kerry Lutz and Ty Andros for The Wrap. We're discussing latest events taking place in the U.S., in Europe, and gold, the dollar, and the euro. Hey Ty, how's it going? It's been a while.
Well, it's going good, Kerry. It's been a tumultuous couple of weeks because I've been getting out of Chicago and now I'm firmly ensconced in Orlando, Florida. But it's been just like any kind of a move, very painful. But I wanted to be out of there before Chicago turned to Athens. And I think I've succeeded in getting out good working order and looking forward to the next chapter in my life.
So you finally took the plunge and got out of Dodge, as it were, because in a lot of ways, Chicago could be the front line of the collapse once it hits the U.S. But in the meantime, we're seeing gold broke 1600 resoundingly, had a couple of major up days. Now it's been slammed down. It's trading around 1580 on June 8th at 10:30 New York time. What's your take on what's happening with that market now, Ty?
That's just one of the better buying opportunities in the last 10 years in an ongoing secular bull market. And we've talked about it several times over the last several months. And it's just whether it be gold mining stocks, although I'm not as bullish on the stocks as I am on the metal itself, just because though it's kind of at a baby out with the bathwater syndrome. But on a monthly RSI, you're seeing stuff that goes back to when it comes to Huey and the stocks, maybe 5 times in a century.
Mm-hmm.
And we're literally, I remember when stocks bottomed in March of 2009, and on a monthly chart, the RSI got to 22. When you have a monthly chart giving you an RSI that low, that is a pretty good signal that you can get long and stay long, and as we come out of bottoms and buy pullbacks.
It definitely looks like it bottomed a couple of weeks back. I mean, who knows? But I've always refrained from trying to call tops and bottoms because I'm not really that good at it. But you got to kind of tie this in with Spain, what's happening with the euro, and where they're heading, right?
That, we're really headed for a global reflation. We're really looking for synchronized central bank announcements, but they're working hard on diminishing expectations so that when they do announce it, they'll get the biggest bang for their buck. They can never say we're going to print to infinity. They have to pretend they're not till every time they show up, they become the white knight. And so they paint it worse and worse to, hopefully not have the runaway inflation that we normally would have, and pull out their monetary cannons. The trillions they have to print are, it's nothing. You're going to see central bank balance sheets triple probably in the next 5 years. Because, as I've said before, I'll always say it, when you have a gun pointed to your head, you'll duck, and they'll do the same thing. In their case, it's the public that takes the bullet.
They're going to be printing. What did you think of Bernanke's statements yesterday? Anything new in that regard?
He said the bottom line of it was one sentence: we'll do whatever it takes. And I believe him completely. He talked about the financial system. Actually, I was somewhat pleased with his comments, in that this depression isn't going to end until Washington, D.C. takes their jackboot off the throat of the private sector and quits eating all of the credit. They have to roll back regulations by 30%, just like Reagan did. And they have to reform the tax code so it can't be bought and sold by special interests. They've got to do what Reagan did. And they're not going to go there until the pain finally forces them to do the right thing.
Yeah, well, how much longer is that going to be? Because they've been putting off the inevitable for so long now. We haven't had the ultimate collapse, but it looks like the rest of the world is going through that collapse. And like you've always said, it ends with the dollar. And here we are. The euro has been really decimated. We've got Spain it's just imploding before our very eyes. All of this, I guess, is happening not in accord with anybody's timeline, but there's certainly a timeline in effect here, isn't there?
Well, there is, and of course they're different because, at least the dollar is backed by a very determined central banker with a printing press, And he said very clearly that financial stability is one of his new mandates on top of employment and inflation. A lot of people like to hide behind the illusion of the being repaid. Of course, nothing's going to be repaid. It's all unpayable and inextinguishable. But comparing it to the euro, it's the one-eyed man in the land of the blind. And you look at the euro, and it doesn't have a tax base behind it. It doesn't have an army behind it. It doesn't have any kind of coordinated financials behind it. It truly is a Keynesian wet dream. It's just printed out of thin air and given value. But the tax base really doesn't flow to pay off creditors, but flows to different capitals. So it truly is a fiat king of fiat kings. It's really, truly backed by nothing. At least the dollar is backed by yours and my private property. Because someone can come along with a dollar, and if they give you enough dollars, you probably would be tempted to exchange your goods and services for. If someone comes and gets a euro, it is, I guess, backed by private property over there, but increasingly less and less. The mayhem has just begun. It'll roll all the way uphill because the insolvencies are equally as great everywhere. Germany is as big a toast as France and Italy is. It's just we will have to wait there. When they have Target 2 balances and all these guarantees, you have to understand Germany's as insolvent as anybody. I was just looking at Wall Street Journal yesterday, and it had a chart of pension obligations. And I'd like to read them briefly real quick while we're on the air. These are unfunded state pension liabilities as a percentage of GDP. France, 362. Austria, 360. Germany, 330. Italy, 323. Portugal, 298. Greece, 231. Spain, 204. The Czech Republic, 201. Latvia, 125. The UK, 91. And they don't have the US here, but I think the US is right around 400%. So it's right at the top of the list.
So what do these numbers really mean, Ty?
Well, those are all political promises, and going to be a lot of broken promises, aren't there?
I would think. I don't see any way around it. Do you?
No, I don't, especially since most of these countries have lost seigniorage. And what is seigniorage? Seigniorage is where they can use a printing press. And of all those countries I just clicked off, I don't see, the UK does have a printing press. But the rest of them, they gave up their right to print money. So, the UK can pay. The US can pay. The Bank of Japan can pay. But, they're just going to print it out of thin air. But at least they're paying off the promises. The rest of them, they don't get to inflate it away.
Unbelievable. That was a definite flaw when they created the euro.
It was on purpose.
What was the purpose? The purpose of creating the euro was to get rid of all those currencies and make it easier to conduct business, ostensibly.
No.
Yeah.
The euro is a political exercise. The euro is a mechanism for gathering sovereignty by unelected bureaucrats in Brussels who are hardcore socialists. And this is a plan that's been in place for, years, if not decades. And it's, Juan Manuel Barroso and whoever his masters are. Olli Rehn, these are all hardcore socialists. And the euro was nothing more than an exercise, supposedly it was an exercise in peace, but no, it really was an exercise in power.
Yeah, I would say. Obviously they gave the reason for creating the euro, that it was going to compete with the U.S. as a trading bloc and all of that good stuff. Would become prime. Now the exact opposite is what's occurring, right?
It's like I said, it's as planned. Socialism implodes economies. We've got what I'll call something for nothing societies running amok. They're doing what locusts do. They eat everything right down to the roots and eat next year's seed corn and the seed corn for the year after that and the year after that. It's misery spread in ever widening circles, and that's what we're getting with this version of socialism. It is not capitalism.
Yeah, and then eventually it's the euro is going to fall, and at some point, and the yen, and then the dollar, right?
Well, they're all going the way of the dodo bird, and of course, that's the story of fiat currencies for thousands of years.
So nothing ever really changes.
No, they just, as I don't know who said it, but those that don't know history are doomed to repeat it, and here we are. Unfortunately, it used to be what's going on used to be an anecdote among a sea of sound currencies. Now it's a sea of unsound currencies with no anecdotes of even a sound currency except for silver and gold. We have the politicians screaming all over the place and unwilling to do the right thing, which is harness human behavior and give people the incentives to save and invest. They're intent on killing them. It's killing the golden goose. Until these people want to let up on the power rather than gather it, we're all going to be in a world of hurt. I mean, crony capitalism is so rampant now. I guess I would mention to everybody that's listening that Gordon T. Long and myself just did a series on crony capitalism, and the first one just went out day before yesterday, and I urge everyone to go look at it. And it's an ugly look, but it shows the difference between crony capitalism and really gives deep insights into what's unfolding.
All right, Ty, find out more from Ty, tedbits.com, to hear this interview again and numerous others that Ty and I have done together, financialsurvivalnetwork.com. And Ty, we will talk to you next week.
Thank you, Kerry, and God bless you all.
All right, be well.